How you doing? Great Monday to you. Well, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority released its budget on the weekend, actually on Friday of last week, and then the full budget, including graphs, today. The news, from my perspective, following this on a regular basis, is actually better than I forecast. You would say, what do you mean? Let me explain. About 2 months ago almost, when this started, I forecast that the March 2020 hotel stadium tax revenue for the Las Vegas Stadium Authority would be $614,000. That was based on a number of reports from persons like the CEOs of MGM Resorts, as well as Caesars and other organizations, that the hotel occupancy rate at the time would fall into, quote, the teens, unquote. And then there were other reports that the occupancy rates were as low as 6%. So I went with an average that was an occupancy rate, of approximately 10%, 11%, and then ran the spreadsheet. The good news, according to the numbers, is that the revenue that was realized from the hotel stadium tax rate, of 88 100 to 1%, was 1.99 million. That's right, 1.99 million. So while the hit is substantial and the decrease is approximately 55%, it's not as bad as it could have been. That's from March, however. The bad news is I expect April to achieve a number closer to what I forecast for March. Why? Because the pandemic and the resulting, if you like, shutdown of Las Vegas occurred in March and then ran all the way through April. So with that, a number of hotels closed, as you know, and a number of businesses completely shut down, and many thousands of people were laid off. And of course, the airline industry all but came to a halt. So the real picture will come in April. Unfortunately, or rather, with the data that represents April, unfortunately, the Stadium Authority does not meet monthly, and they don't post updates on data on a regular basis. They should, and I'll explain why they should in a moment. But if they did, we'd have a faster idea as a public of what this public organization went through during the pandemic and how the pandemic impacted its finances. Overall, when you compare the revenue from other taxes, other sources from 6/30/2019 to 6/30/2020, we find a $25 million drop. 25 million, or roughly 65 million versus 40 million. That is substantial. And what I'm most concerned with is how the stay-at-home culture that has developed as a response to the pandemic, which is still active, even with the opening up of states, will impact tourism in Las Vegas for years to come. We have altered our culture in a short time, with literally the snap of a finger in terms of total time span. And in so doing, we have accelerated a number of changes that were to occur in the economy because of structural weaknesses. What do I mean? Well, for example, everyone knows that a gambling institution, a casino, is within an hour's drive of any major American city in the United States. Now, what people are more likely to do, rather than get on a plane and go to Las Vegas, is go to their local gambling institution, and they've developed a habit of doing that. But people who would normally go to Las Vegas, where many of their favorite things to do are shut down, including buffets, are more likely to take a look at that local casino if they go out at all. And they may find a new pattern of gambling that will negatively impact Las Vegas going forward. And because that happens, it negatively impacts what? That's right, hotel visitation rates, which translates into the hotel stadium tax revenue. Batten down the hatches, because these numbers are coming in, and unfortunately they're going to get worse. Now, why do I say the Stadium Authority should update these numbers on a more regular basis and report them? Because the Stadium Authority should be about the task of fashioning a bailout request to the federal government. That's why. That's the only way the organization has a chance to save the taxpayer. That's something that should be done. This is not the time for conservative philosophy about what the market can do. The market is us, and I hope you all realize that. We are the market. Government exists to protect society, American society in this instance, from the ravages of a market gone bad. And that's precisely where we are right now. All of our competitor countries are primarily monoethnic and have no problem taking care of their own via government policy. The United States and the UK, the most diverse industrial nations, seem to have a problem doing that, and in particular, the United States. We have to take care of our own. We have to stop that way of thinking. But I digress. Subscribe to Zeddy62 on YouTube and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Oh, and before I go in total, there's one other item. It's a criticism. Not directed personally at Clark County Finance Director Jessica Colvin, who I like, but it is a matter of concern. The budget for the Las Vegas Stadium Authority consistently lacks a reporting on the use of expenditures from the perspective of what are called FTEs, full-time equivalent units. In all my years, I have never seen a government budget that didn't have an expression of how much money went to hourly or payments or salary payments to those responsible for running an organization. This kind of budget should not be able to fly, and yet it has for some time now. It's really time to have a more detailed budget rather than one that looks like it was assembled at the last minute because the people who did so had other things to do. And that's not the way an expenditure or a series of expenditures totaling billions should be handled. Or, let's be more blunt, many millions of dollars from personal seat license, from hotel tax, from the Bank of America credit facility, you know the rest. All for a stadium that costs north of $2 billion and climbing. So, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority and Clark County, in this instance, really must get its act together. It's only right to give the public the standard public reporting format it deserves. Everybody else does it. There should not be any exception with respect to the Raiders Stadium. Subscribe to Zeddy62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com.